Hello, welcome to the Buddha Brunch. I'm Ned Kelly. The Buddha Brunch is a YouTube show where I have guests on and provide a medium for discussion about creativity, spirituality. The Buddha part is the enlightened one, the Christ consciousness. Could go by many other names as well. So we have a variety of different guests. The brunch part is that it's a casual, fun chat, hopefully outside the box, outside the classroom or sterile settings like that. Very honored to have Rev Paul Hasselbeck as my guest today.
Hi, Ned.
Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
Paul is an ordained Unity minister. He former Dean of Spiritual Enrichment Education at Unity Institute, and currently full-time faculty member there as well. Unity FM host.
Yep. Metaphysical Romp 2.
Metaphysical Romp 2.
I co-host that with Reverend Dr. Bill and Cher Holton.
And you used to host the prequel to that, which was called Metaphysical Romp.
Correct. Where I flew solo for 7 years.
7 years with that show, and how long with the two?
About 2 now.
So about 9 years on Unity FM.
FM.
That's staying power.
Yeah.
That's longevity.
Yeah, there's a lot of material there.
That's amazing. So you can go to unityfm.com, and I think if you go to unity.fm, that'll get you there.
I think
as
so
well.
too.
Lots of ways to get there. Author of so many books, co-authored these two fun ones.
Yeah.
Teach you what to say, what not to say.
Yeah.
Watch your language.
Yeah. Watch your language. And get over it too. That's the book of my heart. That's the first book I wrote.
The book of Paul's heart.
I often hear when people read this, they do it in one sitting.
Point of power. All right.
Yeah.
Power up.
That's the 12 Powers book I wrote with Reverend Dr. Cher Holton.
And the big one. The big one.
Heart-centered metaphysics.
It's great. Oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff in there.
Yeah, I think so.
It's,
I still say, since this was finished in 2008, I still say that's the 2008 Paul. What they're going to get today is the 2016 Paul.
Excellent. You can follow Paul at paulhasselbeck.com.
Yep.
There's a blog and
My calendar and a blog that is mostly about rewriting the daily word that's written for Sunday in absolute oneness language.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about today. What is up for you? What are you excited about lately?
Yeah, so there's two things I'm excited about. One is one of my passions, and one of the things we do in Metaphysical Romp 2 is question our answers. You know, we're always looking for answers to questions. We're questioning our answers. So the one question I'm answering and I'm changing is the whole concept that many religions have, that there was a fall in consciousness.
Ooh.
And somehow we were good at one point and then we fell, and now we're trying to claw our way back to our goodness. I'm now moving to a view is that maybe consciousness is ever evolving, that it never really fell. Its expression is getting more and more complex and always evolving. Yeah. So that's one. And the second one...
You know what, before you even go into the second one, now, when you say the falling consciousness, I can picture that in kind of mainstream terms, religions and traditions. You know, the fall from grace.
Fall from grace, yeah. Who was she anyway? Who was Grace?
Where, you know, the idea now we're all sinners, we're bad, and we have to atone and make up for that. Now, are you taking this application to kind of a more of a new thought where we didn't fall out of Eden, but we've separated in consciousness from the one?
Yeah, so we could look at it, there's two contradictory beliefs in unity. One is, we got rid of original sin, and we're talking about original goodness, and yet Fillmore talks about consciousness degenerated collectively and individually, and that's what the 12 Powers back is about, regenerating our Christ consciousness. So to me that's a contradiction, that there was no fall, that we have original goodness, not original sin, and yet we're trying to regenerate Christ consciousness.
Well, could it be that so there is this oneness, whatever you want to call it, the source, the Christ consciousness, the kingdom of heaven. I like the word God.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I don't.
Well,
Oops.
well, that's all semantics. I mean,
Yeah, it
that's
is.
that can connote and bring forth images for one person that it doesn't for another
Exactly.
person. So that place of oneness decided, if it's of a mind to make decisions, that it wanted to have an experience of separation.
Yeah.
So it did it. But instead of it did it at one point in the past,
Yeah.
1,000 years ago, 1 billion years ago, or several
Yeah.
billion, it's doing it right now.
Yeah.
It's doing it constantly. We are doing it. It is doing it. And we are doing both. We are living this life of separation. Spirit has tricked itself so much into believing it's not spirit
Yeah.
that we get to walk around and have these experiences as if
Yeah.
we're separate personalities.
Yeah. That's one way of looking at it.
And throughout that process to remember itself.
So I'm in the process of letting go of all those sort of anthropomorphic, even we say oneness decided.
Uh-huh.
So I'm moving to more of a quantum physics model on this, just as Charles Fillmore was in the classical physics model for a lot of this stuff. So for me, if we just talk about physical world and non-physical world in a quantum sense, the physical world spontaneously arises
Yeah.
out of the infinite field of potential. If just left alone, particles just pop in and out. And so what if that's what's happening in consciousness? Thoughts just pop in and out. And for me, they've just been getting more and more complex over time. There wasn't a conscious decision there wasn't someone or something or oneness deciding, I want to experience separation. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like unavoidable. It's concomitant in a sense.
Oh.
Okay, so we have this field of unchanging infinite potential made up of principles and laws, and consciousness spontaneously arises out of it. You don't have the laws and principles saying, well, let's enjoy consciousness today. It's just it's a simultaneous concomitant effect of that infinite field, and then physicality is doing the same thing with consciousness. And so then there's nothing driving it other than it's an expression of what it is.
Sure.
So there's no depth, there's no separation, there's no fall. It's just what is.
It is what is. And as we write books about it or have conversations about it, it can be a helpful tool to put it in terms of, story or a human experience.
As long as the story doesn't trigger preconceived conceptions that create a fog of really understanding what's
Sure.
being said. Okay, so Fillmore talked about biblically we being created in the image and likeness of God. Okay, and then in the next sentence he talks about how God is mind and principle and can't do that thing. Okay, so it's a metaphor.
Yes.
The metaphor that we're created in the image and likeness of God. So God doesn't have an image. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
But the fog. So for me, the fog of my traditional Christian upbringing, that there was a God as a being creating me, gets in the way of my understanding of the metaphor.
Sure. Excellent. Let's pause that for a moment. And there was another topic.
The other topic is in the category of my major passion, and my major passion is how do we make these teachings useful on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis?
Right.
And what I guess the first thing is, the first shift was, so are these laws and principles true or not? And at the level of usefulness, it doesn't matter if they're true or not. If they're useful and we can use them to be better, who cares if the principles are true as long as we can use them? It's like, it's in a way we can't really prove in a very concrete scientific way that reincarnation
Sure.
is a fact.
Sure.
However, it can be a very useful concept.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So there's that, and then in the process of teaching in the last year or so, I became aware that my teaching was not as effective as it could be because I was emulating what I learned, and 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 the way we've been teaching these unique concepts come in at too general of a level.
So let me ask you, what does useful look like, and you use the term to make us better? What does that look like?
So useful means, how is this a concept or an idea or a practice that I can use, consciously use, because I think we're using them regardless, that I can consciously use to be the person I want to be. And in my context, I want to be better and better every day. And most unique people in the context are looking to be better, to be more spiritual. And that's the level at which we've talked about it, is expressing the Christ consciousness, or expressing the Christ principle, or simply expressing the higher self. And it feels good to say that,
Sure.
okay? And it says nothing, zero, zip on how to do it. And so I'm getting down to that, I call it the granular level, but the level at which we actually express.
All right.
Okay, and the level at which we actually express is at the level of our thoughts, our ideas, our beliefs, our images, and their concomitant or related feelings, emotions, internal experiences, and all of that. So when someone says they want to raise consciousness, what we're really saying, what I'm saying is, I want to raise the overall quality of my current thoughts, ideas, and beliefs and images.
Now, how is this different from what you've been doing for the past 8, 10, 15 years?
What's different is we've been coming in, or I've been coming in, and almost every teacher I know has been coming in at the level as just as simply saying, we're going to raise consciousness.
All right.
And when we use the principles and laws to raise consciousness, but we don't define what raising consciousness means. If I ask, in fact, 99% of the people I ask now in class, and I start every class this way, what does it mean when we say we're going to raise consciousness? If people say change their mind, they mean I'm going to be more my higher self, my Christ self. I say, okay, that's all true. That really feels good. And what are you changing? Blank. No one knows what they're changing.
Well,
Or most people don't.
I don't know, you talk about it in here when you talk about the kingdom of heaven as a place in consciousness, returning to that place or becoming aware of, because you never really left it,
Yeah.
but becoming more aware of
And
that oneness.
In the context of the kingdom of heaven here, I mean, it's not only that we never left it. First of all, it's not a place, and second of all, it's a level of consciousness from which we consciously or unconsciously manifest. Okay, and so it's the point of manifestation, and we have the choice, and so we have to be aware that this kingdom of heaven is what the film called the fourth dimensional realm, and this is the area. I kind of like how he said it. It's a little too concrete. It's this assembly and disassembly point of divine ideas.
All right.
Okay, and so we're doing that regardless if we know or not. So the teaching is about how do we using the fourth dimension to demonstrate and to raise consciousness. And even though I have a whole chapter on there on thought and feeling and denials and affirmations, even in that book, it's not on the context. This is what we're raising the overall qualities to raise our consciousness.
All right. Can we get into examples of this granular level?
Yeah. So.